today. Very well. Do you want to just get into questions, or you want to make an opening statement, or it's up to you, Coach?
No, we can get into questions.
Okay. Student-athlete starters for South Carolina are still in the breakout rooms. The reserves are in the locker room at this time, and we're joined by the head coach, Frank Martin. Coach Martin is here for 20 minutes to take your questions. Please raise your hand if you have one, and we'll start right up front with David.
David Cloninger of the State. Frank, Dwayne has been, I think, a very underrated defender all year long. Just how vital has his defense been throughout this season, and how vital will it be tomorrow?
It's just as your point guard initiates your offense, your on-ball defender initiates your defense. When your point guard's good offensively, your team's good offensively. When your on-ball defender's good defensively, your team is good defensively. They go hand in hand, and even though he does not play the point on offense, he's our point on defense, and he's relentless. It's kind of his career, relentless. You know, he just that's hard. That's the hardest thing in basketball is guarding the basketball, guarding the guy with the ball. That's the most difficult thing to do in the game, and he's just relentless at it. And we're here, and a big reason we're here is because of who he is and the way he does that.
Let's move to the second row, and just a reminder, no video recording. I'm not sure if that's a photo or video.
Karen Krause from the New York Times. Frank, you said yesterday that nothing tomorrow will be as pressure-filled as 35 students, 27 desks, 18 textbooks.
Mm-hmm.
How on earth did you make that work? And was there anything you learned in the process that is at all applicable to what you're doing now?
It's the same school that educated me, in the same community that raised me. I had no choice but to figure out a way to make it work, because I used to be one of those. And you have a responsibility to educate, and when you embrace your job, you figure it out. You don't make excuses, you don't pout, you don't blame. It is what it is, you know. And those kids were awesome. They understood the challenge. I had to be creative. It's hard to give homework assignments when there was no technology back in the day for people to go on the internet and read stuff. That means you had to spend a lot of time on a copier machine making copies of things. Made me understand that here's another part of educating in that scenario. Sending homework assignments every night is not very productive. So you had to maximize your time in front of them to educate them, and that's what I try to do every day. I try to use every moment of every single day I've been in education to maximize my message, my vision, the opportunities. You know, I think we all dwell in negativity too much. We all worry about all the can't rather than the how to. And my job is to help young people figure out how to succeed, not dwell on the things that prevent them from succeeding.
Let's move over to the left side, just to the right of the aisle.
Coach Jim Roop with Westwood One News. There is often talk about the advantage of a returning team to a situation or a tournament like this. Is there an advantage, and how would you articulate that for a first-time team in a situation as big as this?
I've always felt that experience helps to get back. Experience doesn't help the game you're playing. The game you're playing is a game, and how you manage yourself day to day allows you to be prepared to succeed when the game starts. That's where experience, like North Carolina, I don't want to speak for the other two coaches, but that's where the North Carolina players, I would think, they understood as soon as their game ended. When they played just like us on Sunday?
Yeah.
As soon as their game ended on whatever it was, Saturday or Sunday, those players that went through it last year, they understood what was getting ready to happen from a distraction standpoint as you go through the week. The rest of us are trying to figure it out as we go through it. I think that's where experience helps. Experience helps you manage your mindset, your emotions, as you prepare for something. But when the game goes up, everyone's nervous. I don't care how many Final Fours you've played in. Every time you show up for that game, you're going to be nervous. And anyone who says differently is not telling you the truth. I don't care how many games you've coached. You're always nervous for the next game on the schedule. It is what it is. But, you know, you have to lean on people in your life that have been through things to help guide you, so then you can manage it the way you think it needs to be managed. I'm sure that when this week's over, I'm going to sit at my house and I'm going to reflect, not just on all the good and the unbelievable moments, but on the things I did that maybe I should have done differently. And so if ever I'm afforded to be around a group of kids, as special as these guys, that take us on this ride again, I'm prepared to make some decisions better than I've made them this week. Right now, I don't know if they're right or wrong. We'll figure all that out whenever this is over.
In that same area, third row.
Kevin McCrary, South Carolina Radio Network, kind of on the distractions that you've been talking about. How do you feel like your team's handled that? How have your practices been this week?
This is what you can't gauge. I'm not one of these. I'm not going. If I were to show up and tell our players we're taking their cell phones from them, then they're not going to be. They're going to see Frank's changed this week. I've never taken their cell phones from them, so I can't take them from them this week. So I don't know how they've managed this. I know this has been an unbelievable distraction for me this week. So I can only imagine what it's like for them. But they've been great. They've been great. They've stayed true to who we've been. I think us being so far away from home has not allowed family and friends to get here yet. I know most of my family, most of our players' families are getting in today. And they're not distractions. They're the reason we're all part of this. But they want our time. They want us to go take pictures. They want us to walk around with them, which I understand. You know, we're going to have to start managing that today. And we've got a plan in place. I hope it's respected and it works.
On the right side, left of the aisle, Dana.
Dana O'Neill with ESPN. Frank Sindarius said that you might want to limit him a little bit in practice today, but that's not going to be so easy to do. So won't you allow him to do?
He's being way too nice. If I were to tell him he can't practice, he'd probably leave and tell me he's not playing. So he's wired to compete. They killed him. He said to me last night, he's probably not going to be happy I'm going to share this with you, but he said to me last night, man, I feel like I'm letting everyone down. I said, huh? I said, what is wrong with you? Letting who down? The game's Saturday. Be all right, man. But that's just who he is. He feels that our guys practiced and he was not there to help them. That's who he is. But he's in good spirits. I've been giving him a hard time all morning because I know he doesn't like it. That the rest of us worked yesterday and he laid around the bed and watched TV.
All the way to the right side.
Coach Mark Topher with WYFF TV in Greenville, South Carolina. Through all the travel, all the craziness, the issues with your cell phone, how much film have you gotten to watch on Gonzaga, and how does your team match up with the Bulldogs?
Yeah, watched them a lot. I don't know how we match up with them. I'm one of those guys I always feel we can't match up against anybody. But they're real good. I'm going to make the statement of the year. They're real good. You know. I've gotten to know Fewey off the court, and he is as competitive as anyone I've been around. But he's got an even keel to him. And when you see his team play, they're as competitive as anyone out there. But if you cover the scoreboard, you wouldn't be able to tell who's up or who's down if you just watch the game, because they play every play the same way. They don't make mistakes. There's no bad body language. So if they're down 6 or up 6, It's the same team. It's not, their sense of urgency is the same way for every play. And that's why they're so good. And we got our hands full, but we're also thankful for the SEC that they presented unbelievable challenges for us every single night that prepared us for moments like this.
We're joined by student athletes from South Carolina as well, and our next question is to the right of the aisle on mic 2.
Hey, Coach, Ralph Russo from the Associated Press. I had talked to Roddy Magruder about your style, your tough love, and he said it prepared him for the NBA. Have you ever thought throughout your career there was a moment where you thought to yourself, you know, I was a little too hard on this kid, maybe because my delivery overshadowed the message? Have you ever had one of those moments where, you know, you come back and think, yeah, that whatever my yelling and screaming, that didn't work in that particular case?
You know, Ralph, right? Yeah. You know, Ralph, what is tough love? It's either love or there is no love, right? I don't know. I don't know of any, what is tough love? I don't know what tough love is. People love you, they tell you the truth. They don't lie to you. So I hear tough love, and I've been hearing it for a long time. I don't know what that is. If you love people, then that means that you're honest. That means that there's trust in your relationship, and that means that there's loyalty in your relationship. All those words are two-way streets. And then you get the love. And if you get the love, then you deal with the good and the bad the same way because of the commitment that you have to one another. So I've never known what tough love. I don't know what that is. People use that term all the time. Because if you're not being honest with your players, if you're not giving them passion, then there is no love. That's phoniness. And I don't know. It's my experience in 32, 33 years coaching guys like the ones to my left, that if you're phony with them, they got no time for anything I say, regardless of how nice I am. If you're honest with them, they give you their hearts because then they realize you're trying to help them as people. When you're trying to help people as people, then you're being genuine. You're not being phony about a scoreboard. And that's what I've tried to do my whole life. Rodney's a special, special dude. Now, do I think I ever go over the top? Not for tough love. Have I gone home days and said, you know what, I might have been too hard on a player? Absolutely. There's days I think I'm too hard on my own children. That's what an honest relationship is about. I'll come back and tell them. I say, hey, man, what do you think? You know, you understand? You realize what we're doing here? I think that's part of having an honest relationship, which is the only way you can ever have love in it. But I'm not trying to be smart. You know what? I don't know what tough love is. It's either love or there is no love.
We'll take questions for student athletes or Coach Martin, and the next one is in the back row on the right.
All right, Devin Walker from NCAA.com. Mark Emmett yesterday talked about diversity in coaching being on a downslide right now. You yourself and being of Cuban descent, how do you kind of hold the torch or like rod for the other coaches or kind of change what's going on in college basketball?
Yeah, I mean, kid I coached against of Cuban descent when he was a high school player just got a head job this year, Mike Bellato. You know, he was with Coach Pitino at Louisville, and it's big responsibility that we have. It's like I tell them, think about the power that these young men have made in our state right now. You know, how many young kids are running around our state saying, God, I want to be like them. I want to be on that stage one day. I want to represent myself the way these guys represent, not on the scoreboard, when they speak and articulate and the way they care for one another. That's part of our responsibility in this journey, is that it's not about us. It's about the others that have helped us understand how to manage things to get to this moment, and then for us to give back and open doors for others like us to have the faith, the belief that they can do this one day too.
Staying in that same area just to the left of the aisle.
Coach Tyler Fenwick, NCAA.com. Back in October, you said Chris and PJ were going to take big steps forward, so I'm wondering what you saw back then to give you that confidence.
8, 31, 52, 58, 64. You know what that is? It's the Powerball numbers. those numbers come out, man, we're in trouble if we didn't buy them. I live with these guys. I know what they're about. I wasn't just drawing straws. I wasn't trying to promote something, trying to make people feel good. I live with them. I know what they're about. I know what they go through every day. I know where their heart is at. I know where their minds are at. I know the commitment that they have to become better. I see it. I live it. I breathe it. I wasn't trying to predict anything. I was just trying to be honest in what I thought was getting ready to happen. And you know, we don't just show up and high five each other 2 hours of practice and kind of go our separate ways. That's why for the question before about Rodney Magruder, you know, that's why it's a lifetime bond. That's why I don't know what tough love is. It's real commitments to one another. I'm a better man because I get to coach guys like them. And hopefully, as they go through their journey, I did something to help them in their path.
All the way up front on the left side.
Coach, Chris Gasper, Boston Globe. I was just curious, during your time at Northeastern University as an assistant coach, what was the biggest thing that you took away from that experience? And at that time, did you ever envision yourself here, right now, as the head coach of a Final Four team?
Hard to live in Boston at $28,000 a year. Hard to live in East Providence and not own a car and commute into Boston every day and figure out a way to make it home at night when the commuter train stops running at 6 p.m. and practice doesn't end until 6:30. But, you know, it is what it is. It kind of goes back to the question earlier. It's your job. You got to figure out a way to make it happen. And then you dream about it every day. If you don't dream about whatever it is that you do in your walk of life every day and trying to compete to be the best at it, then it's never going to happen. And if you dream it and you're not willing to work for it, it's never going to happen. Sometimes you dream it and you work every day and it still doesn't happen. But you know what? Life becomes a whole lot of fun because you're fearless of your dreams and you're fearless of the work. And that's what I've tried to do every single day. And that's what I try to share with these guys as they continue to go through their path and their journey to enter manhood here pretty soon.
In the center section, and the next one's got to be for the student athletes if this one is not.
Yeah, Frank, Phil Orban from WSOC in Charlotte. You talked about family coming into town. Mike said his parents are going to come in Saturday. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how special of a moment that's going to be, and how important is it for you and your team to embrace those players that are from other countries that come in?
It's a special moment when these kids that never get to play in front of their families, all of a sudden that happens. Like the guys from Lithuania we had, you know, their parents never made it in to see them until the last two games of their senior year. They came in for the second to last and then the senior night game. I remember how powerful it was for them. Every foreign guy I've had, the sacrifice that they make, I spoke about it yesterday, especially right after Christmas time, when everyone else gets to spend time with their families. And as much as these guys try, because they all take these guys to their homes, you know, whether it's my home or PJ's home or Sin's home, these guys do an unbelievable job of making all our guys included in the journey that we're on together. But when they leave those environments, they realize, like, that's awesome, that's a great family, but dang, I miss my family. And you know, so we always struggle with guys, foreign guys, right after Christmas. But that's going to be great for Mike, you know, and it's for them to be able, and that's, you know, the NCAA gets beat up a lot. How awesome is that the NCAA helps provide so these kids' parents can travel? Because you can ask them, they'll tell you. Most of their families couldn't afford on their own 4 days before the trip to buy plane tickets and stay in $350 a night hotels to come watch your kids play on this platform. You know, so NCAA gets beat up a lot. I think that's something that should be applauded, the way that they've worked to make this happen.
This is likely the final question in the back on the aisle.
Hi, for Sindarius, Pete Ganity from WSPA TV in Spartanburg. There used to be a guy named Al McGuire, your coach will appreciate, in the late 70s. He said one day they're going to be playing basketball in giant stadiums in front of 50,000 people. Have you tried to envision what it's going to be like? Because you've walked onto some big stages in your career, but give me kind of your take on what it's going to be like to walk out onto that floor.
And actually, Sin, if you could hold on for 1 second. We'll have all 3 student athletes take this, and we'll start with Dwayne down the end. Dwayne, what's it going to be like
Good
for
morning.
you when
Good
you
morning.
I think it's an amazing experience. Just the opportunity to I never fathomed the fact of playing basketball in a football stadium. So I didn't think that was possible. So the fact that we're here and we're gonna have the opportunity to play against a whole bunch of in front of a whole bunch of people and a whole bunch of fans and family is gonna be an amazing experience that I can carry with me for the rest of my life.
Thank you, Dwayne. Sindarius.
It's great, man. The feeling of being here and everything that comes with it, and it's great. For the fact that we've been counting out every step of the way, and nobody believed that we would be here, and the fact that we're here and we're playing, it's just a great feeling to be here.
And PJ, can you take that one also?
Just the opportunity, man. It's a blessing. It really is. It's a blessing to be able to be on the national stage, to play in such a huge game that you dream about playing all your life. It's a blessing.
And we'd like to thank Dwayne, Sindarius, PJ, and head coach Frank Martin. We're going to send them out to their open practice on the big floor right now. Fellas, we'll see you tomorrow night. Good luck. Media activities continue at 11:15 with the Gonzaga open locker room and breakout sessions for the Gonzaga starters. We'll be joined by head coach Mark Few here in the main interview room at 11:30. And the starting student athletes from Gonzaga will join us here at 11:40. 11:15 is when the Gonzaga media activities begin. If anybody has any questions, feel free to come up and ask.